Welcome, my podcast friends. And this is another episode of Simple Healthy Choices for Weight Loss. And today we are wanting to talk to you about ultra processed food. And just so you know the difference, there's processed food and there's ultra processed food. We are not talking about processed food because that could be even something like if you go and you buy a side of beef and you take it to a processing plant and they cut it up into steaks and hamburger and things for you. That's processing. That is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about in this episode is ultra processed food, which basically means all the food that you're looking at if you're looking at the inner aisles of a grocery store. It's everything that's boxed, bottles, bags, cans.
Right. So this week, so Steve and I, we were at the grocery store and we were just kind of looking for a few things and started looking at, which we've done before, looking and reading the ingredients on different labels. Really just mostly we were looking to see how much sugar was in everything, what sugar is in everything. But the other thing, and I guess we knew this, but it really hadn't dawned on us until every single thing that we looked at, all the seed oils, soybean oil,
Eh,
that's the only one I can think of.
Everything, just all the vegetables,
Everything.
safflower oil, sunflower oil, canola, Crisco. I mean, just all the different oils that are in all this ultra processed food. And so basically, we really want you guys to get ready. Our number one goal is that you never buy this food ever again, never eat it again. So anything that has a label on it, don't eat it. That's what we would love to have happen. We know that's not going to happen. So if you could at least read the ingredients and maybe if we can kind of explain to you some of these ingredients and why they're so horrible for your health, we thought that might be. Now, I've already done this in one episode where episode 21, where I talked about our vegetable and seed oil is bad for you. So I'm not going to go into all the different reasons why these are absolutely horrible for your health. But just to kind of get you looking at the food labels and kind of assessing what's going on. So basically, when you're talking about and it starts off because of obesity and type 2 diabetes, but really almost every disease state that we've seen has increased so much since our new dietary guidelines came out in 1977. We're seeing a lot more obesity than we ever did. Type 2 diabetes, we're seeing type 2 diabetes in the kids that we never used to see before. We're seeing all kinds of cancers that we never saw before, all kinds of skin conditions, all kinds of high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you look at all these disease states and when they really started getting bad, and almost every single one of them started around 1977, 1980, when our new dietary guidelines came out that told everybody that eating fat was bad. Eating fat's going to make you fat. Let's go to no fat, low fat diets. And ever since that happened, we have become the most sick country in the world. It's horrible what's happened to us because now we all know, at least those who actually know about nutrition, realize fat is not what makes you fat. Carbohydrates are what makes you fat because we're eating them continuously. We're turning those into fatty acids, which could turn to triglycerides and get stored. And so the whole key to good health, in a nutshell, is you want to keep your insulin levels low and you don't want to put any thing in your body that causes inflammation. And when you look at all the ingredients, the main ingredients that are in all this stuff is we'll talk about different types of flours that are in that. Any flour is just powdered glucose. Okay, that's all it is. Anytime you eat any carbohydrate, it gets broken down to the basic building block, which is glucose. Every time you eat a carbohydrate, it gets turned to glucose. Your blood glucose levels go up, and this causes your insulin levels to rise. High insulin levels being maintained for long periods of time is what causes so much organ damage. And it also is it's kind of the problem but besides obesity, but keeping our insulin levels high also keeps it to where we are hungry all the time. And it just kind of feeds itself. So you're eating this processed food, it makes you hungry, then you go and you eat more processed food. And all this processed food goes in, keeps your insulin levels high, causes you to store fat. It says all you can do is store fat, you can't even burn it. And again, I've had other episodes where I talk about all this stuff. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse on that one. But just realize that mainly when we talk about ultra processed foods, they all have flour in it, they all have sugar and high fructose corn syrup in it. and the flour and the glucose portion of the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup, that is what causes your insulin levels to rise. So we need to stay away from flour. We need to stay away from sugar and high fructose corn syrup.
And of course, these are all the foods in the middle of the grocery stores.
Yeah.
So that's where you don't want to be. So, because we're normally not in the middle of the grocery store. That's why we were there to look at these ingredients. So rarely are we there to get anything, but we do the same thing. We're not perfect at this, but we mostly do not shop in the middle of the grocery store at all.
Yeah, avoid everything in the boxes, bottles, bags, cans. Just avoid them. And that's why we say shop the perimeter. And we'll say that again throughout this, because the perimeter is where you get your nice healthy meat, healthy fruits, healthy vegetables. The other thing that we see that's in this, besides, like we said, besides the sugars, but it's all the seed oils that Theresa was talking about. And there's so many of these vegetable and seed oils, and it's in everything. I mean, that's the very first. And you got to don't look at just the front of the label, because the front of the label, they'll lie. Or they won't lie, but they definitely stretch the truth. So they may say something because they know that your good oils are avocado oil, coconut oil, and extra virgin olive oil. They know that. So they put that on the big front of their label on their product, say made with real avocado oil. Then when you turn it around, the very first ingredient or second ingredient is going to be safflower oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil. I mean, these things are on in everything. And the problem with these oils they are extremely inflammatory to your body. And there's two main reasons why those are. The one, and this is all those vegetable oils, unless we're talking about coconut oil, olive oil, or avocado oil, all these other oils, these vegetable and seed oils, one, they go through a ton of processing where they have to put all these extra chemicals in to get think of vegetables and seeds. How much oil is in that? There's not very much. So these things have to go through all kind of high pressures, high temperatures. They have deodorizing agents. They have stabilizing agents. They have all kinds of chemicals that they put in this food to try to get the oils out of this. And it's those chemicals that get in our body, and our body knows that these are not supposed to be there. So it sets up an inflammatory response. And inflammation is good acutely, like if you get a splinter in your fingernail or something like that, so inflammation, that's when your body sees something that's not supposed to be there, and it sets up an inflammatory response so you can get rid of that. However, when you put stuff in it constantly, every single day, multiple times throughout the day, every single day that you're alive, you're putting these chemicals in your body. So you're constantly keeping your body in inflammation. So acute inflammation is good and healthy. Chronic inflammation is horrible for your body. Inflammation that tears up your body just by itself, and then when it gets mixed with all these other things in your body, that just causes all kinds of diseases. So you want to stay away from that. The other reason vegetable and seed oils are so horrible and so inflammatory is because there are two different essential oils. There's omega-3 or essential fatty acids. There's omega-3s and omega-6s. Omega-6s produce inflammatory prostaglandins. And you need that because, like we said, for acute inflammatory issues. But then omega-3s make anti-inflammatory prostaglandins, so they can balance each other out. When you're talking about omega-6 to omega-3, you'd really like to have 1-to-1, the inflammatory versus the anti-inflammatory. So if you have like a grass-fed, grass-finished beef, that fat in that meat is going to be about a 3-to-1, omega-6 to omega-1. So that's good. That's a good ratio. If you get grass-fed, grain-finished, and they grain-finish them because grains make you fat. So why they're telling everybody they should have more grains is crazy, because it makes you fat. Look at the cows. That's how we do it. So they take to a feedlot, feed them grains, and now the fat that comes from those cattle, they do have more of the omega-6s. They have more of the inflammatory prostaglandins. So now that level goes up to around 6 or 7 omega-6s to omega-3s. However, when you look at the vegetable oils and seed oils, when you look at the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, in these inflammatory vegetable and seed oils, that goes up to where it's like anywhere from as low as 15-to-1 with the omega-6 versus omega-3. So the inflammatory versus anti-inflammatory, all the way up to some of these oils have like 45-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3. So that means these are extremely inflammatory. So one, you have the type of fat, the omega-6s that are in all these vegetable oils and seed oils that cause inflammation. And you have all the chemicals that they put in these, and those also cause inflammation. And none of this has to be done. These vegetable and seed oils, when they very first started, they were only to lubricate machinery. And then a company, Procter & Gamble, came up with a great idea of why don't we start feeding these to humans too, because it's very, very cheap. They didn't mean to cause all the disaster that they did back when this started, but now they know. Since the dietary guidelines have come out and we have seen all the horrible detrimental effects that has occurred from that, now we know that these vegetable and seed oils are bad for us, and they continue to put them in every product in the center aisles. So please look at that and see. Remember, with the ingredient labels, the very first ingredient on the label means that's what's in. That's the highest percentage of ingredient in that, and then it goes all the way down to the last ingredient has the lowest percentage. And a lot of these things that you see that say avocado oil, when you turn it over, the first or second ingredient is going to say soybean oil. And probably your last ingredient will say, oh, yeah, we popped in some avocado oil there, too. So let's advertise that on the front of the label.
And just remember, this isn't going to change anytime soon because it is inexpensive. And they've just been doing it for so long, and they are businesses to make money. So you are responsible. Just remember, you are responsible to take care of your own health. And so, going into the grocery stores and keeping around the perimeter it's up to you. You're the only person that can take care of you. The government isn't going to do it. These food companies are not going to do it. So just keep that in mind. It's like, this is up to you to take care of yourself.
Exactly. And again, the main thing is the chemicals. The chemicals that they're putting in this is our body recognizes that as a foreign product, and it sets up inflammation to get rid of it. So besides the high fructose corn syrup, the sugar, all the flours, and all these vegetable and seed oils, then they put all these other chemicals in it, all these artificial ingredients. So they have artificial sweeteners. So if they don't want to use the high fructose corn syrup, they can do these artificial sweeteners. And they tell you that these are good for you because they don't have any calories. That is bull, because they are chemicals. Your body does recognize it as foreign, and it does cause inflammation. And these sweeteners still cause an insulin response. Just by putting an artificial sweetener or a regular sweetener, anything that tastes sweet, when you put that in your mouth, your body automatically says, I'm getting ready to have some sugar. I'm getting ready to have some glucose. So your body automatically stimulates your insulin. And the whole key, remember, the whole key to being healthy is to keep your insulin levels low as long as you possibly can. So these sweeteners, even if they don't have any calories, this is not about calories. This is about what it does inside your body. And sweeteners bad. Then they go and they add like the artificial colors. Like all the red dyes. And this is something, if you haven't heard, red dyes, there are a lot of children that have been extremely hyperactive. And they found out that not only is it all the flour and all the sugar and everything that's in all this processed food, but actually red dye is something that is causing extreme hyperactivity in a lot of kids. So anything that has anything with green or purple or red or orange, any of those dyes at all, which is in probably most of the products you think of in the box, bottles, bags, and cans, they have red dye. And they have found children who are getting ready to be put on these medications for attention deficit disorder and for hyperactivity. And the parents are the ones who came up and said, no, I've read how red dyes can cause this. Let me take red dyes out of their diet first and see if that helps. And it does. If you quit eating things with red dyes in it, you could control a lot of this hyperactivity and hopefully get patients off of activity.
You know a girl, right? That they did that with their son?
Yeah. There's actually one of my technicians at one of the pharmacies that I work with. Her little brother and little sister, she said they were so hyper, they were bouncing off the walls. And that's what they did is they went through all the food, and they took out everything that had this red dye in it, and they are not hyperactive anymore. And she said they were really crazy. They were really scared, but they really didn't want them put on medication. And now they found out about this red dye that they put in everything. They are elated that now there's actually a cause, but it's not going to be hard. And then are the artificial flavors. These are just chemicals. If it says artificial flavoring, that means this is just another chemical that's going to cause inflammation in your body. So stay away from it. And they're going to make it very hard. If you're shopping down the inner aisle of the grocery store and in box, bottles, bags, cans, you're not going to be able to get away from this stuff. They put it in everything. So the only way to do it is to stay away from it. Maltodextrin is another big chemical that you're going to see in this. And maltodextrin is horrible for your body. As far as glucose, this is the glycemic index is based off glucose, where glucose is 100 and then everything else is based off how the amount of glucose you get after you eat a certain product. Maltodextrin is even higher than glucose on the glycemic index scale. So this stuff is horrible. It has a huge insulin response. So anything that has maltodextrin in it, stay away from that also. And they like to mix this with a lot of artificial sweeteners too, because it bulks it up. But you want to go and subsidize produce?
I'll let you do that.
The other thing is the food companies, they know this. And this is why, since they're making all this processed food, there are three main vegetables that are put into everything. We've already talked about all the high fructose corn syrup. So you have, our sugar used to be made with either beet sugar or cane sugar, but then they found out about being able to make sugar out of corn. So now they have high fructose corn syrup, which is so much cheaper, and that can keep our food prices way down. However, this is, again, raises your insulin levels extremely high and is horrible, especially when you continue to keep them high. They have wheat and everything, and there's a lot of people with gluten allergies, but there's wheat and everything, there's corn and everything, and there's soy and everything. And since these are all what ultra processed food companies use, this is where a lot of our government subsidies, the money that our government gets is supposed to go to our health, is actually going to these food companies. And if you look at it, all the subsidies that go to produce or to our farmers, period, probably 80% of all the money goes between corn, wheat, and soy. And the other 20% is mixing all the other farmers. Then that's even meat farmers, that's chicken farmers, that's farmers who actually grow other types of vegetables besides corn, wheat, and soy. So this is not going to change. The food companies, like Theresa said, it's a business. They're making lots of money off you. You've got to put your money where your heart is. And if you truly believe, if you truly realize and understand how horrible this processed food is, you're not going to want to put your money there. The other thing that happens with this is with corn, wheat, and soy, those products, since they have grown massively because we have all this artificial ultra processed food that they're producing, they also have to keep the weeds down. When you buy local to a local farmer, they can go through and they can kind of spot check their weeds and they can spray the weeds off. But when you have corn, wheat, and soy, these are huge, massive farms, and they don't have the time or the manpower to go through and spray all these weeds. So now they go into crop dusting, and they're going through and they're dropping all this crop dusting like glyphosate. And that gets on all of these products, corn, wheat, soy, and glyphosate has been known to cause cancer. It causes all kinds of horrible things on our bodies. And it's in everything. And glyphosate is the same thing that's in Roundup. And so anytime you eat anything with corn, wheat, soy, you are getting Roundup. You are eating glyphosate, and you are causing more damage to your body. So it's best just to stay away from that. And that's where Theresa will come in. It makes it sound hard. Even people with gluten allergies or with what's the disease? Celiac disease. You know, I've talked to people and they're like, it's horrible. You know that they have wheat in everything. Gluten is in everything. It's like, no, it's not. It is only in the products in the center aisles of the store. It's in your box, bottles, bags, and cans. And yes, you are right. They put it in everything. But you can get away from it from eating God-made food, real meat with real meat fat, real fruits, real vegetables. And if you eat that, the periphery of the store, you aren't going to have to worry about gluten anymore.
And, you know, one of those things that we talk about are eating meat and vegetables. And, you know, local farmers, you want to get your vegetables from your local farmers. But we just purchased a side of beef just for me and Steve. It should last us a little over a year. And we figured with the processing and the meat, it's $6 a pound that we paid for this meat. And that includes our steaks that we got, everything.
We got a ton of T-bone steaks. We got ribeyes. We got brisket. We've got roast. I mean, we've got a ton. And average over all of that is only $6 a pound.
Right.
And we're going to be able to eat off that for the rest of our year. And that was only half a cow. And you don't have to buy a whole side of beef. Go in with some friends, buy a quarter of beef, buy an eighth of a beef, whatever you can afford, but buy local, buy from local farmers that they have grass-fed and grass-finished beef, and you'll feel so much better about it.
And if you feel like for one thing, you need to have a deep freeze to be able to keep your meat in because you want to keep it frozen. So if you can't afford to do these things, of course, it's perfectly fine to buy meat from Walmart. They have it on sale. Before this came in, I had just gone to Sam's and they had hamburger meat for $4 a pound. So I got about 6 pounds to hopefully tie us over, which it did. And so you can go to Walmart and Costco and Sam's and all these places to get meat and just shop for those things when they're on sale. And you can definitely do it that way. We really want to support our local farmers and the cattle cattle farmers. We really want to support them, and that's why we've been doing this for years. And we just recently switched because our other person, they quit doing it, but through Israel Farms. So if you're around the Springfield, Missouri area, they're like close to Marionville, and they also sell this meat. And you can just walk in over there and just buy meat, however much you need. If you just need some hamburger meat or anything, or you can get like Steve was saying, a quarter of a side or half a side, share it with some friends. But that is just a great way to support locally. And then it's also better for you because theirs is grass-fed, grass-finished. And follow them on Facebook because they have all kinds of pictures of their cattle. And it's just beautiful to see them out there grazing on the grass,
And again, that's called Israel Farms.
Yeah.
And we also, there's another local farmer that I just did a podcast with from Redfern Farms.
Right.
And,
yes.
And so you'll find farmers around. And again, with the Israel Farms and probably with Redfern, you don't even have to split a cow. If you just want to just get so many pounds of meat, they've already got it cut and they'll have it frozen and they can just sell it to you that way. But it's freshly cut, freshly processed.
Right. I forgot. Yeah. Redfern Farms, because they also are doing a monthly subscription, I believe. Unless they decided against it.
Yeah. No, he was talking about, so
you'll hear it on that podcast. So anyway.
But anyway, that's the main thing. So, and also, people think that it's so expensive to eat healthy, and it really isn't. Just like we said, you can find deals on meat. You can see when meat's cut down. Go to local farmers so you can have a grass-fed and hopefully grass-finished beef. But even if it's grass-fed, grain-finished, that's still going to be better than any of the stuff in the middle of the aisles. And remember, when you eat meat and fat, that stays in your stomach for long periods of time. So it keeps you feeling full for long periods of time, like hours to days. There are some people who go 2-3 days without eating. Teresa and I both have gone 3 days,
yeah.
two or 3 days without eating before.
I did it once.
but we only eat once or twice a day. And that's because we eat meat and fat and eggs, real eggs with avocado. And these things stay in your stomach. They keep you feeling full for long, so you don't feel like you have to eat all the time. The stuff that you get in the middle of the stores, they make it where you want to eat all the time, where you're always hungry. This food is not satiating. There's no nutrient value, so your body knows there's no nutrients, so it's going to keep you hungry. Plus all the sugar they put in there that cause your insulin levels to rise, and that also is going to make you hungry. So stay away from the things that just make you hungry with no nutrient value and actually make you sick because of all the processing chemicals and things they put in it. And eat real God-made food. You're going to be so much happier for it if you do.
I think I'm done.
I guess that's all. We weren't really sure how this podcast was going to go. We hope you understand really the seriousness of it. And if you're looking at food and whether it's cheap or not, you have to figure in, if you are going to eat the ultra processed food that's in the box, bottles, bags, and cans, the middle aisles of the grocery store, besides adding up all the different times you eat throughout the day, because that stuff will not keep you full, you have to add in how much do you spend on medications, how much you spend on doctor's visits, and how much you spend on hospitalizations each year, because that food causes those things. There's a whole group of people that don't eat anything but eat God-made food, real meat, real fruit, real vegetables. They are on zero medications, like Theresa and I, never go to the doctor's office, like Theresa and I, and they never get hospitalized for any of these things. And like Theresa and I, we are not the only ones by any means. There are a lot of people, but I think there's a whole group. They don't realize there's one whole group that thinks that they eat this way and they just think doctor's offices and hospital bills and medications, that's just a normal way of life. And it's not, because there's a whole other group of people that don't eat that way and they don't have to deal with any of that. They can spend their money on things that they enjoy doing. So that's how we would like for you guys to start getting, to spend your money where it belongs. And if you spend your money with the local farmers can put out more of their healthy produce, more of their healthy chicken, their eggs, their meat, their beef, their pigs, whatever they do. They can spend more on that if we give our money to them and quit giving it to the huge food manufacturers who do not care about your health and they only care about their bottom line. So is there anything else you want to tell them, sweetheart?
No.
Anything burning in your head? Okay. Well, then that's all we really have today. And so once again, thank you so much for listening and have a great week. And remember, always make simple, healthy choices to live a quality life.